But those, like, though, that's a whole nother art. And I encourage, and anyone who gets invited into one of those rooms, check it out because it's intense and it's kind of magical, but nah.
Cámara uno, toma uno. Córrela.
Buenos días, soy Jim McKay hablándoles en vivo de la Villa Olímpica en Múnich, Alemania del Oeste.
So, my first question is for you, Peter. Ron's decisions shape the future of live news, but his actions during this event had ethical implications, and there were a lot of internal moral conflicts. So, I wanted to know if this role shift in some way your perspective on the media industry.
Well, something I've thought about a lot. I made another film, actually, Shattered Glass, many years ago, that's about ethics in journalism, and as a, overlapping subject. Actually, that one's about a guy who makes up news to try to be entertaining, right? And this is a story where this is a guy who really made a story around the Olympics to help make the Olympics more entertaining to people that didn't follow sports, for example, for the rest of the year, right? Like we have to create a story. And I think he brought that sense of storytelling into news eventually. And I wouldn't even say it's a double-edged sword, it's just a sword. I think it has to do with, the need for the news to be commercially viable that makes it have to be compelling. And, he certainly ushered that in, but he also was an absolute genius. I mean, the guy really knew how to follow a story and took this very seriously. I think both of our characters, everyone in this movie, is so close to the events as they're happening that we're not doing a lot of stepping back and seeing what's going on.
Which is also something you do as an actor anyway. You never really want to know stuff that your character doesn't know. You're not focusing on a bigger picture, you're focusing on what the character knows at any given time.
John, I can imagine that spending so much time of the film in one room, it's I don't know, it's really hard. And also it means that the performances carry in some way the weight of the story. Was this a challenge during filming, or did the confined setting help you channel Geoffrey's pressure and urgency?
Well, a challenge and an obstacle is kind of what you want as an actor. If it's all easy and there's nothing, especially in a story that is supposed to be challenging and difficult and tense, you almost look for that uncomfort. And Tim and our production designer and everyone, they put us in this claustrophobic space that was almost like a submarine, and it's stinky and sweaty and smoky and dirty, and you have a job to do, not only as an actor but also in the story. The team has a job to do. So it may not be the most comfortable thing, but I think that obstacle leads to better performances in a lot of ways.
And one of the aspects that I found truly remarkable is the decision to confine the majority of the film to a single location.
Yes.
I think it transformed the control room into a living, breathing entity that almost becomes a character in its own.
Oh,
How,
wow. Yeah.
yeah, how did you use its design and atmosphere to amplify the tension of the story?
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because that's exactly the approach that we had, like that the studio almost feels like a character on its own, because this is a movie about the media and about communication via electronic devices. And I think especially for today's audience, it is interesting to take a step back and see how the analog world was back then and how long it took for an image from the moment it was taken till it actually landed on the consumer TV at home. And all of this should be as accurately as possible. If we decided to make that to make tell the story entirely from that perspective, then what you say about that has to be really accurate. And also we wanted it to, for the audience, that they get a feeling that all of these devices, or a big part, we also make that they still worked. so that the cast couldn't interact with it, so that actually when John Magaro says something, gives a direction, it would have an effect on the control room monitors.
Leonie, in moments of crisis, Marianne's professionalism and focus contrasts, with how others in sometimes doubt her abilities. How did you bring out this quiet strength in a way that felt authentic to the story?
I remember my first conversation with Tim about Marianne, and the way because he said he wants someone who's very no bullshit, very much to the point, gets stuff done. She's a problem solver. She doesn't talk about how she will solve the problem. She just solves it very quickly. And the way he talked about her made me think about my mum, because I'm the oldest of 4. I've got 3 younger brothers. So when I remember growing up, that my mum's always been quite like a bit tough, but also just like, this is the problem. I've got 4 kids. I don't have time to explain to people how I will solve things. I will just solve them. And also my mum's name is actually Marianne, so I feel like I channel a little bit of my mum's straightforwardness into this character.
Also, the film uses actual archives of the original broadcast. I wanted to know why you decided to use specifically Jim McKay's archives instead of having an actor.
Well, in a way, you gave the answer to the question within your question, because the answer is Jim McKay. Because we knew we had to have Jim McKay's original performance from back then, because I think he has this very unique and also very much a way, I think that it's not today is completely differently hosted into the cameras. It's different, right? He has a very specific to that time way of reporting on this. The way he tries to stay professional all the time, but then in a way you also feel his empathy coming through.
Yeah,
this would have been very hard to recreate, I think, with an actor. And we wanted also to have that feeling. Like, a lot of people are familiar with McKay's, especially with his last words of that broadcast. And we knew that this is crucial for the movie, that this is his original, the original recordings of what he said, that we can use this.
So Ben, Marvin, I think it's like, well, a mentor and a realist, but I wanted to know, what was the most important lesson you wanted to convey through his character, and if the role made you like reflect in some way on your own career and the mentors you've had in this industry.
It didn't happen consciously doing it. No, I think I felt what I normally feel, which is a duty of care to the character. And when the character is a real person and that you find out about, you sort of you feel protective of them. You grow to love them. I think that's important. That happens with every character, fictional. You sort of grow to love them, or at least tolerate them, and it's a sort of begrudging sibling kind of love. But in the times that I played real people, particularly sort of recent people, you feel a sort of it's a sort of form of love. It's like I find it very hard to describe. It's happened to me before. The first time it happened to me, it was strange. But yeah, you care about them, and when you hear people, like in this case, we were fortunate enough to meet people that knew them or read what people had said about them. You want to give them another day, sort of in the sun, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can relate to that.
My daughter, her dormitory is on top of Rune Ulrich Auditorium, and which I think is really just like so.
We both got a kid in the same dorm in the same college, and
on top of Rune Ulrich Auditorium.
Yeah, and we were there moving in the same day, but didn't know.
Yeah,
so after we finished.
So moments like that, after I did it, I go, "Oh wow, this guy really was a big deal." But then, when I was playing it, I I had the feeling of being an important person because I was playing someone that had that feeling.
You're the boss on set, weren't you?
Yeah,
In
but
the film.
but it's also a real like collaborative feeling in terms of what they're doing and what we're doing as actors, that a lot of the reality doesn't come from some book you've read about who you're playing, or even some video of watching them, or I would even venture with John Magaro meeting the real Jeffrey Mason. It comes from each other in proximity, devoted to one task.
It does. And that task for us is performing as a cast, which reflects their task as
Yeah,
broadcasting live.
yeah.
You know,
Even including the camera operators and
Yeah.
the
Yeah, yeah.
boom person, and everyone
Yeah.
who was on set was in it.
yeah, it's like a single organism. It's nice when you have roaming cameras because it becomes a dance, and there's
Unless they hit you.
yeah, unless they
And
that was the Thin Red Line thing.
get hit.
John told hard. He would do it to get you away. Yeah, no, he just he kind of liked me, so I didn't get hit so hard. Yeah, some people got absolutely clogged.
But in this, we're like ducking under
Yeah.
cameras, and I mean,
It was
it's
so tight in there.
yeah.
Um,
They were part of our reality.
Yeah, that's it. They were part of the real.
Yeah. And for my last question for both of you, I wanted to know if there were any moments during filming or at the end of it where you felt like you could actually run a live broadcast.
No.
No, I did like 2 months of research in control booths, and I got as close as I could to it. I really was focused on getting that right. But that's a whole nother art, and I encourage, and anyone who gets invited into one of those rooms, check it out because it's intense and it's kind of magical, but nah.
You'll just stick with acting.
I'll just play it on
For now,
TV.
yeah.
In portraying such a sensitive and complex historical event, what was the hardest emotional or creative decision you had to make?
I think like generally just we made the decision that everything we show it from their perspective. So everything they would know about the underlying political conflict, or about the history of what happened before that, they would see it through their eyes, through the eyes of sports broadcasters. So this was a very crucial decision that we made quite early on.
And congratulations for this amazing film. Hope to see you on the next one.
Absolutely.
thank you very
Bye now.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.